Welcome to Stand With Us on JLTV. We're so happy to have you with us today because today we have someone all the way from Brazil who has actually opened up a Stand With Us office for the purpose of education and inspiration and fighting anti-Semitism locally in Brazil. So welcome, AndreLajst.
Thank you. Thank you, Ross. Thank you for having me.
So happy to have you with us. So we're anxious to hear your story. We're anxious to hear what makes you tick and what you're seeing in Brazil and what you're doing, actually, with all the Stand With Us support and capability. So first, let's talk about you. What makes you tick? How did you grow up that you feel so committed to the State of Israel?
Okay, so I always start telling my story by my grandfather that was a survivor of Soviet War death camp. He was one of the 56 people that succeeded to escape the camp and survive, and was the only revolt that actually people succeeded to escape alive during the Second World War. So afterwards, after he came to Brazil and he eventually divorced my grandmother, he went to Israel. And he received in Israel in the 70s and the 80s a medal of the Ministry of Defense of Israel for fighting the Nazis. And I met him when I was 17. The first time I went to Israel for exchange program as a teenager, and I met him. I never met him. I met when I was born, and then I met him again when I was 17. And I saw in the wall this medal that today is in my wall. And he told me the story that he killed a Nazi SS officer with a knife during the revolt.
Wow.
So I think that this part of the story, together with the Second Intifada when I was in Israel, and seeing the pictures of the news when I was there in 2003, and I couldn't go to Jerusalem or to Tel Aviv sometimes, to see him or to see another friends because of the suicide bombing. I think in that part of my life, I decided to do Aliyah.
So being the grandson of Holocaust survivor, that played an important role in your life, clearly. And hearing those stories growing up, how your grandfather survived, how he fought, and then seeing the modern day challenges in Israel really brought this together, this moment for you that made you feel like, okay, I want to be involved too.
Yeah, I was raised in a Jewish home, traditional home, Jewish school. And my parents met in Israel. My mom is Argentinian, so they met first time in Jerusalem. And then eventually they came back in the 70s and they got married and they went to live in São Paulo. I was born in São Paulo, and I think that the fact that when I was a teenager in Israel and I saw and I listened to stories of soldiers dying to protect the only single Jewish country in the world, it moved me. It's like a continuation of history. So my grandfather fought the Nazis, and there are 70 years after, there are still people dying to protect Jewishness, sovereignty, and life. And I wanted to be part of that.
You and a lot of other people from all over the world make their way to Israel to become lone soldiers. I know that's part of your personal history.
Yes.
So you became a lone soldier. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah.
That's a big thing.
Yeah. So when I did Aliyah in 2006, and I straight forward to the university instead of going to the army in the first place, and then I studied government at IDC Herzliya, and after my BA I was drafted to intelligence, so I went to the intelligence, the Air Force, which is a very interesting unit today because you have asymmetric wars with terrorist groups, and the Air Force is very used. And I was drafted, and I was 2 years a lone soldier. I did the trainament, I did the courses. I created a new department inside of the intelligence of the Air Force in order to search for information on places that the Normally they needed to rely on another unit, and it took too much time. And that's the only thing I can tell about my service. But I serve as a liaison between 8200, which is 8,200 unit, and the intelligence of the Air Force, which is a research unit. And I passed through the conflict, the middle war that we have with Hamas during 2 weeks in 2012. Was a very interesting experience, seeing how much effort we put in human resource and money to avoid civilian casualties in Gaza. And I saw that in my eyes.
So, I mean, that's a whole big piece of an argument between people that Israel is not doing enough to protect civilian lives in Gaza. I mean, after all, you know, all the peaceful protests in Gaza, I'm joking. They're not peaceful protests. They're very violent riots. But look, there's violent riots, and Israel has to handle it. And sounds like you did some very, very important and innovative work when you were with the Army. We're going to take a quick break and come right back. So don't go away. And you don't go away either, because we're going to talk about the challenges that you see in Brazil and what you have been doing about that. So we'll be right back. Welcome back to Stand With Us on JLTV. We're here with AndreLajst, and we are talking about his work in Brazil. But first, we heard a little bit about his background, which is fascinating. Your grandfather was in Sobibor, a Holocaust survivor who fought against the Nazis, actually escaped. Very, very fascinating. I, too, have that legacy. I'm a daughter of Holocaust survivors on both sides of my family, so I understand how that plays a big role in who you are and how you respond to things. But so we went from you being a lone soldier to now you're going to come to Brazil, back home, and you're going to fight a different kind of war. The war for hearts and minds, the war for information and inspiration, and the war to fight anti-Semitism. So tell us a little bit about what motivates you locally. Why did you think you needed to get involved and fight? What is it that's happening in Brazil that you're seeing?
So first of all, it's important because anyone was doing that professionally in Brazil before Stand With Us arrived in Brazil. And
you mean nobody was doing it?
No,
nobody was doing it.
It was not the same thing. You had, of course, federation efforts and the umbrella organization, the Confederation. Some Jewish institutions try to help in crisis, but there was not a professional organization with people that have the knowledge, have the material, and have the resources of doing that professionally. So it's important because if you don't do that, it's just a matter of time, the rise of anti-Semitism will be on the skies, because social media, the media itself, the academia, Brazil is South America. South America has a culture of antagonism with the United States. Israel is the best friend of the United States, so they see Israel as part of the United States. Mm-hmm. The left controlled the Latin American countries, including Brazil, for many, many years. And it's an agenda thing. You know, the world is polarized, and the agendas get polarized itself. So anti-Zionism became the new anti-Semitism in Brazil within the left. And every time that happens something...
How would you see that? How do you see it demonstrated that anti-Zionism started pushing into Brazil and becoming that signature of the left? Any clues, anything, any stories that you can?
Well, the anti-Zionism was part of the agenda of the left and the radical left in the 70s. There was a UN resolution. Brazil voted in favor of that resolution at the time.
Zionism is racism.
Zionism is racism. And eventually the left, Brazil recognized Palestine as a state in 2010, opened an embassy that was donated by the Labour Party in Brazil. During the wars in Gaza, the president of Brazil didn't succeed to explain herself well and condemned Israel instead of condemning Hamas. Very ideological people that are very in favor of Cuba, Venezuela, and very critical to Israel. And people are ignorant. Most of the people, they don't know, don't care, and don't and really rely on Israel information. And what the leaders say, they follow. So and this raised anti-Semitism in the end of the day.
So one of the things that I point out about the work of Stand With Us, wherever we are informed by three things. One is low information, because it makes people very vulnerable. It's a danger, because when you come in with something like Zionism is racism, well, no, it's not racism. It's the inspiration of the Jewish people to have a homeland in their ancestral homeland. So, and to be just safe and secure and be left alone to have that homeland. So, Zionism is, it's misinterpreted. So if a person has no information and they hear such nonsense and really dangerous nonsense, tainting all the Jewish people, because most Jewish people believe that there should be a safe and secure Israel, the homeland of the Jewish people from way back.
I'll give you an example what happened two weeks ago. There is a left party that is a descendant of the Labour Party. They are very, very popular with the young people and the millennials. And the president of this party went to a celebration in the municipal chamber of the city of São Paulo, which is the most important and biggest city in Brazil, to celebrate the 40-year anniversary of the Iranian Revolution. So take a look. It's the Iranian Revolution, which is a dictatorship, a very brutal one, with a president of a leftist party in Brazil that called for the rights of women, legal rights for everyone, and gay rights, and marriage rights and stuff like that.
So normal liberal activity.
And he said in the event that the creation of Israel is based on a doubtful legacy of a religious group.
A doubtful legacy.
Yeah.
A doubtful legacy of a religious group.
And then we Stand With Us Brazil did a video answer to him saying, go to Israel, see the archaeological sites, and think twice instead of and saying doubtful.
Yeah. So, this is part of the reason we produce so many different kinds of materials on different topics, like 3,000 years of history, Israel timeline. These are just two pieces. By the way, you can go to the website standwithus.com and request one item, and we will send it to you at no cost. Just say, I was watching JLTV and you promised me one item. Send it to me at no cost. So we're going to take a commercial break, and we'll come back to you with what you're doing now in Brazil. You'll tell us how you're fighting these things in Brazil locally.
Perfect.
Stay right there. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Stand With Us on JLTV. We're here with AndreLajst, and we're talking about his work in Brazil. Brazil just recently opened a Stand With Us Brazil, and we're very, very excited. and moving forward with that in all kinds of great ways to educate, to inspire, and to fight anti-Semitism.
Exactly.
So we're getting back to information about what exactly you're doing on the ground in the fight for hearts and minds in Brazil. So tell us your work. Tell us what things are the priority areas of your work.
Okay, so the priority we divide between the Jewish and the non-Jewish community. We do education programs in public schools. We are reaching the students and the teachers of the public schools. So to have an idea, 90% of the population of Brazil study in public schools. So we're going to public schools. We're going to the Jewish schools to teach and to inspire the children of the age of high school. We have the office for 1 year and something, so we didn't have the time yet to go to middle school, but this is going to be in 2020. And in the high school, we are going to São Paulo main Jewish schools, and this year, 2019, we are opening all the courses and seminars in the high school of the Jewish schools in Rio de Janeiro as well. And then
let me interrupt you because I know a question that comes to mind all the time, and that is, why are you spending time working with the choir? Why are you singing to the choir? And the reason we do this is because there are people like Andre, there are people that need information to be able to stand up and tell Israel's story, to be able to have a rich conversation. So if we don't prepare them, if we don't empower them with information, they cannot participate, they can't fix misinformation. So we need the choir to be singing on tune, so to speak. Okay.
Well, I say to students like that, when you go to university, you're going to be, in the best of the case, the last barrier to avoid anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism inside of your classroom, inside of the university. You're going to listen, if you go to political science, international relations, history, geography, I don't think if you're going to study medicine, you're going to listen something, but if you're going to study many other fields, you're probably going to hear very bad things about Israel, things that are not true. And you are the last barrier of avoiding this to happen without being answered. Mm-hmm. So it's your responsibility as a Jew, as an ambassador of Israel, a natural ambassador of Israel, to know your own history and to protect this legacy.
To have enough information to be
and
able...
we teach people to answer.
Exactly.
If they arrive at university and they listen that Israel does genocide or apartheid and stuff like that. And we need to teach the Jewish new generations to know their own history and to protect themselves against those attacks.
And to protect the psyche of the community. So in other words, whoever we can touch with accurate information. Were the Jews there 3,000 years ago? What is Jerusalem? Why is Jerusalem important to the Jewish people? Why is it in all their liturgy? These things, it's like connecting all the dots for people. And if we don't do it, misinformation could cause anti-Semitism.
Yes, of course. And it caused it in the past when you had people that didn't know the answer inside of the classroom. Mm-hmm. So there were many events in Brazil that if you stand up and say you are a Zionist, they're going to call you a racist and they're going to expel you from the classroom. And this is one thing that people need to start realizing, that how important it is to classify anti-Zionism as anti-Semitism, because you are not against the Jews, but you're going against the Jewish state. So it's the same thing as being against the Jewish race or Jewish ethnics or Jewish religions. It's the same.
Exactly. So if the majority of Jewish people are standing up for Israel, they love Israel, their heart is connected, even if their home is in America, they love America, but that they have a certain connection to Israel because it's their history, and you come out against the state of Israel existing, you are coming out against a very important piece of identity yes. of the Jewish people.
Yes.
You have been translating
yes.
booklets, you're translating materials.
Yeah, so despite the education department, we have the communication department, we have the design, and we have all the translation. We are translating all the Stand With Us English to Portuguese, all the booklets. There are about 35 to 40 booklets we are translating. We have already 6 or 7 booklets that are already done. We printed, we already gave those booklets to students in many parts of Brazil, Jewish and non-Jewish, we go to universities to do lectures and seminars and dialogues, even tables of discussions with people that are against Israel. And we go there, we fight for our truth. And we also do a lot of social media on Facebook and Twitter and on Instagram. And we reach out the media so we can be a source for Israel. So when they want to interview someone about what's going on in Israel and the Palestinian conflict or in the Arab-Israeli conflict, we go and we are requested to write piece of articles, op-eds to big newspapers. So we are doing the difference now there.
It's amazing what you have done in a very short amount of time. Mind you, we opened a year ago.
Yeah, in January 2018.
Softly, and now we've finished our tight relationship, and we're very, very proud of everything that you have done. So, before we have to leave, because we're coming to the end of the show, what's on the horizon for you? How do you view the future in Brazil and your growth?
I see the future of Brazil growing. I think that the relationship between Brazil and Israel will grow now with the new president that is very pro-Israel. And I think that Stand With Us is paving the path to be more and more influential and help the Jewish community to get the information to protect Israel and protect Jewish identity and to fight anti-Semitism, anti-Zionism outside as well.
I know that just recently we had the Israeli delegation doing a humanitarian effort because the dam broke, right?
Yes.
And so you came and you made a presentation. Thank you so much for being with us, Andre. It is a pleasure, and we will monitor your work. And the next time you come back to LA, you'll come visit us again and give us an update?
Of course, I will. Thank you, Ross. Thank you for inviting me.
Good. Don't forget to support Stand With Us. Join us next time. We'll see you on Stand With Us on JLTV.